It is 6:30, so I'm going to start this presentation. If everyone could find a seat, we'll get started. First, I want to welcome everyone to the Klineline Pond and Salmon Creek Regional Park Master Plan Update public meeting. My name is Michael Chow. I'm a Parks and Trails planner with Clark County. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day to attend this meeting. I really appreciate it. Super excited to show you what we've been working on. Wrong button. All right. Well, just some house notes. The meeting is being recorded and will be available online after the meeting. Virtual guests can use the chat tool to participate in the discussion. And then questions, if you guys have any questions, if you could please hold it until the end of the presentation, that would be greatly appreciated. We will have a Q&A session after. All right, so here's just the agenda of how tonight's going to flow. I'm going to introduce the planning team, talk a little bit about Klineline Pond and the location and history of the park, and then the Department of Commerce grant that we received. And then also talk about the existing conditions. Then I'll pass it on to PBS to talk about the process we went through to get to our conceptual master plan update, and then talk about next steps, and then we'll open up the floor for questions and some feedback. So like I said, my name is Michael Chow. I'm a Parks and Trails planner with Clark County Parks. Here today is David Stipe, Parks Planning and Development Manager. Oh, he's waving his hands. It's back there. Kevin Tyler, who could not make it, is our interim Parks Division Manager. And then Haley Shannon and Kelly McLaughlin Burton is here with our Community Engagement and Inclusion team. They'll be looking over the online portion of the presentation. And then Alyssa Peters, Paul Robluski, and Brian Bailey are here with PBS Engineering and Environmental. All right. So let's start with the presentation. So this is a beautiful picture of Klineline Pond on a sunny Washington day. It's a great picture. A little bit about the site. Klineline Pond is located on Northeast 117th Street, adjacent to Interstate 5, and part of the Salmon Creek neighborhood. The pond is part of the larger Salmon Creek Regional Park and Salmon Creek Greenway. A regional park for Clark County is a park larger than 50 acres, and it usually provides different recreational opportunities, usually supported by parking and a restroom or restrooms, usually drawing a larger crowd from all over the community. It was first developed in 1970s. It was developed from a gravel pit used to build Interstate 5 and transformed into a recreational area. And in 2006, a splash pad, playground, and the creekside shelter was built. This made the park super unique in that it's the only park in the area that provides a beach access and a splash pad in the same area. And since then, there's only been minor repairs just to upkeep the appearance of the park. Not many major improvements since then. So the Washington State Legislature recognized that the Klineline Pond was a vital community resource in need of some improvements. So we received a $1.365 million grant for accessibility improvements. Part of that grant, we renovated the parking lot and the pond view shelter as kind of show that we're committed in improving the park. Before the design process, we went through a site inventory and analysis of the current conditions of the park. So we recognize that Klineline Pond is in a environmentally sensitive area. So the goal of this project was not to really add any more park programming, but really to enhance the existing activities offered there. So you can see here some of the site features offered at the park. It's a parking lot, sand beach and water access, playground, splash pad, observable shelters, a bathhouse, observation and fishing platforms, and an open lawn space. As you can see here, here's some pictures of the existing conditions. So the bridge here, parking lots, the fishing piers, the beach, the playground, and the bathhouse. So part of the inventory analysis was exploring the current challenges of the park. A lot of our maintenance issues come from just the age of the park. Operation and maintenance of the splash pad system has been an ongoing issue. Our maintenance staff spends a lot of time trying to keep it running through the hot summer months. Is nearing almost 20 years old, and so parts for the splash pad are getting harder and more expensive to find. Another issue at the park is there's considerable washout of the beach. Erosion has been a continuing issue. Our maintenance staff replenishes it as best as they can, as often as they can, but it continues to erode into the pond, so that's one of the challenges we want to address. And then some of the features do not meet the updated ADA standards. So this park was built in the 1970s. ADA didn't really come into fruition until the 90s. So as you can tell, some of the features that were built in the 70s don't meet those standards. So we explored it a little bit more. We wanted to find opportunities where we could improve that accessibility at the park. So here's a list of things that we saw were opportunities. Continuing the Salmon Creek Regional Trail to Klineline Pond. As you can see in the top right corner, that's a picture of the trail west of the park, or it stops just short of the bridge. So there's no continuing trail. You'll have to go into the parking lot and then over the bridge into the pond area. We also wanted to provide protected accessible route, or a protected accessible route from the accessible parking spaces east of the bridge. Renovate the bridge to meet ADA compliance, provide larger accessible splash pad and playground, and then also provide accessible pathways to the water. So I'm gonna pass this over to Paul to talk about the design process we went through and then the conceptual map. So.
Thank you. Everybody hear me? Great. Thank you all for coming out. It was great to talk to a lot of you before this. A word that Michael used a lot is accessibility. And so you'll see it again in the next few slides. We were very focused on accessibility as a key element to what we were looking at here. Along with accessibility, we also wanted to recognize how loved this park is, and try to really enhance the parts that we love about it while fixing things that we all recognize as needing some help, accessibility being one of them. So we worked with the county on a couple of conceptual plans that will eventually lead us to the plan that we all saw on the board earlier. Ideas of how we locate spaces, how we allow play to happen, how people use the site, access the water, just hang out. This is what we were mostly focused on within these concept plans. In the second plan, we started to explore larger spaces. Again, enhancement of spaces that we all love, playgrounds, splash pads, green space, the restroom building. So we started to explore what those kinds of spaces could be if we were to shift them from the areas where they currently are, make them larger, expand their footprint, and therefore expand the opportunity for people to play, for us to watch our kids, grandkids, nieces and nephews for me, and just be able to hang out in this park in a better way. So along with the final conceptual master plan that you see here, we started to look at other accessible areas. Michael kind of hit on it a little bit. The parking lot is a big one. How do we, there we go. How do we allow more people to basically gain access to this park? So we started to look at an area in this area, south of Salmon Creek, as well as the building. So increasing access to the Salmon Creek Trail, we want to provide a stronger, safer pedestrian access off of it and provide a restroom building. In doing that, we are also adding a paved parking lot with ADA spaces that will allow someone to use the restroom very easily and efficiently. At the existing building, we're putting in an ADA ramp because it's lacking one, as well as an ADA space here. And then further down, kind of by the entrance to the park over by the bridge, Michael again hit on this. How do we allow people to park and access in a safe way without having to go into the parking lot? The really easy way that we're planning to do that is to bring in an accessible ramp that actually connects really nicely to the Klineline Trail. I'm sorry, the Salmon Creek Trail. And we are making that connection behind the old kind of water pump area that Michael was talking about. When we get into the park itself, one of the key things that we want to recognize is that summers are getting hotter. We all recognize that. We also recognize that we're all different. Some of us are more sun lovers. Some of us really like to shade. So providing a lot of varied opportunities for people to enjoy the park in the way that fits them best. So we have ideas for umbrella shade through here. We have some sun lounging through here. What happens if we provide a space for everyone to see and be seen with some promenade seating right off the beach? You know, something for the kids, something for the adults. We can all love it. So we started to explore how that sort of felt to us, and it felt pretty good. We started to look at the playground a little bit, doubling the size that's currently out there, at least doubling, if I remember right. But also adding opportunities for inclusive play with accessible surfacing. And all of this can be explored later, but the idea would be, let's pick a theme, let's make it fun for the kids, let's make as many kids as possible be able to play on this. The splash pad was relocated to behind the restroom building. Again, doubling in size and providing another varied opportunities. It can have overhead spray, it could have little pop-up jets, colorful surfacing, and some seating around the edges so that parents, guardians can enjoy watching kids play. We have some shade that we can enjoy watching kids play. And it also allows us to keep the row of existing trees by just providing some seat benches around it. It also allows for a really nice, flexible, pervious way for the kiddos to kind of run between the playground and the splash pad and not slam into everybody, as kids do. I'm going to turn it back over to Michael.
Talk a little bit about the beach restroom concept. So we wanted to really explore what we could do to the bathroom to a little modernize it. There's the two main restroom areas will remain similarly to what it is now, but meet ADA standards. So we would kind of improve that a little bit. But the main part is we want to look at improving the two underutilized rooms in the bathhouse. So one you can see is where currently the concession stand is, and then lifeguard rooms. So we want to change those two areas, split them up, and then make two family restrooms with at least one adult changing station for families who require that accommodation. We want to be able to have more patrons utilize the park for full day access, so they don't have to go elsewhere if they do need these accommodations. So that was the main improvement for the restroom. So the phasing for this project will be most likely in two phases. We're looking at phase one in green, which is most of the work that's going to be done in the already developed portion of the park. Anything away from the water, we think that we can permit this a little bit quicker and kind of get most of our amenities in within that timeline. And then everything else with a longer lead time for permitting or that we see some challenges with will be mostly in the in-water work, which is in blue, as you can see there. So for our next steps in this process, we're going to review the input on accessibility challenges that everyone has provided. Really look into those and see if we can really accommodate those suggestions and put them into our final conceptual master plan to get adopted. And then we're looking at beginning design and construction documents in 25, so next year. And then phase one of construction, most of the permittable work that we think can be done quickly in 26, and then everything else after. So that concludes the presentation. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions and answers or Q&A. So if you're in the room and have questions, please raise your hand and I'll come around with the microphone. And then please limit your turn to one question, and hopefully we can get to as many people as we can tonight. And then online participants, if you could please type them into the chat feature. Haley's going to keep an eye out on them. But yeah, let's begin. If you have any questions, if you could raise your hand. Try to keep the questions to around a minute so we can try to get to everyone. I'm going to hand this over to David.
Actually, I made a list, but
Oh, you made a list?
I'll try to
Let's
stick
just
to
stick
one. Okay, so when are they expecting it to be finished?
We're looking at construction in sorry. We're looking to start construction in 26. That's when the construction is budgeted. So
That's what was question.
yes.
Well, you said the pond, there's a problem with the sand, like it going into the pond. Do they have to dredge the pond?
My guess is the pond is very deep.
Okay.
And what I suspect, we haven't done any sort of hydraulic analysis of the pond. What I suspect is the sand, because of the grain size that we're using, is flipping over the edge into the deeper part of the quarry. And so one of the potential solutions that we would explore during what I would call preliminary engineering on the sort of in-water work is some sort of barrier, like a berm, that would keep the sand from migrating over the edge. And then exploring the grain size of the sand. So the sand we're currently using is Columbia River sand that you buy around locally, readily available. We also use it to top dress our ball fields, and it's probably not the right sand. So we need to explore that when we get into this.
Yes, I wanted to ask if it would be possible to encourage either.
A big plan.
to get in a wheelchair and roll that trail, so you have firsthand experience in what needs to be fixed and why. It gives a really good perspective. And for sit at the picnic tables, get in a wheelchair, sit at the picnic tables, and make sure that you understand what's necessary for a person to be able to do, sit there in a wheelchair and be participate with everything else. Thank you.
So, the Public Works Director, Ken Later, myself, and the interim, Parks Division Manager, actually, I had a conversation about that today, in response to your email, the email you sent, I believe, at the beginning of the month. And we're gonna reach out to you to try to put something together, because we're really interested in doing that. And perhaps not only at this park, but at other properties, that we're looking at doing, remaster planning work on over the next 6 years. So it may be that it's our new division manager who starts next month. There hasn't been a public announcement, but we do have a signed letter of intent from a new division manager. So we do have somebody starting next month. So it may take until next month to reach out to you and start working on getting that set up.
As an accessibility consideration, as of now, the only way to really access the park is to drive there. It would be really useful to have a accessible crosswalk on 17th Street. Because for all people on that side, they can't go to the park to get to.
I will add that to my list of topics with our transportation folks. We meet with them monthly. We talk about pedestrian crossings frequently. So I'll definitely, I'll add that to the list.
With her question, because I live right off of, sorry, along with her question, I live right off Highway 99 and 110 by the church. And there's no sidewalk. It's just I mean, they did put some typically on the other side, but there's no, I mean, it's a nature there. And there's so many kids. I mean, this is a complaint that I'm sure a few of you have had over, but like, they need to have sidewalks on Highway 99 so that a lot of kids getting to that area have a safer,
I'll
journey.
speak to that a little bit. My name is Kaylee. I'm the communications manager for the department. So what that means is I know a little bit about a lot of different topics. And one of the things I know about is we actually had an open house last year, maybe it was in the spring, about adding sidewalks right there by the church. So the design, I think, is 90% complete on those sidewalks. And
Talking about them for the 20 years I've lived here.
I bet. But we're starting to prioritize, because a lot of the funding that we get is starting to prioritize other modes of transportation besides driving. So that's kind of reassessing how we prioritize projects. So Highway 99 is a focus and adding sidewalks, particularly by the church there. So if you go to our website, go to the projects page,
Okay.
you'll see a couple of Highway 99 sidewalk projects. And then if you have any questions about, oh, what about this section or that section, you can email, there's contact information on there. You can email us.
Have they started to work on it then?
Yeah, so the design Haley, was that the spring that we did that open house? So this past spring, the design for that was 90% done. So I think construction next spring or this coming spring in 2025.
So where do I look at it again?
I'll write it down and I'll bring it to you.
Is it in the
Yes,
So
I believe.
the transportation improvement plan is going to be reviewed at a work session at County Council on November 6th. And if you type in Clark County Transportation Improvement Plan in your search engine, you'll get somewhere in the top 10, probably a link to the actual tip. And there's a list of projects in there so you can see when and how much money's been allocated for those projects.
I'm not seeing anything. Talks about my. On that. Station.
So in the absence of having a division manager at this point, and I can't speak directly to the long-term plan for lifeguards. I know that there's a capacity issue, funding capacity issue with our operations revenue. And so having 20, I believe it was 20 FTE or something dedicated toward lifeguards it was no longer financially feasible. I could, if we were going to add lifeguards back, I could see this being one of those sites. And if we did, we would potentially build another structure to house the lifeguards.
Because the lifeguards aren't just saving kids. They're really keeping order on that beach, and without, it's a really different lifestyle there.
That's an excellent point. Thank you.
Are all the changes covered by the allocated budget?
We have money in the budget. The draft capital plan, which our draft capital plan will be reviewed on November 6th at the same work session. And we have the $1.36 million from the Department of Commerce and another $1 million of park improvement fee money. And I believe it's all $50.
So everything up there is not a whole bunch of prayers. It's
The phase two would have to be another budget allocation, but we do have the funds. I just haven't put money into the capital plan for phase two because I don't know what it costs yet.
when the Klineline was built, and then later on has developed into a regional park, and also what it does, by Klineline Kids Fishing and other events. The Light Neighborhood Association, the 501c3, had lobbied for and were able to partner with other agencies to provide lifeguard requests as well as lifeguard funding. Now, that particular park is a regional. It is located in a TDBG area where the grants were available. However, I do not think that the Parks Department have applied for those to this day. Maybe it's time to apply for them. But there's also other ways of doing it. But also the life jacket station, which you're taking two lifeguards out. And a life jacket station is really an oxymoron. Because what is happening with those life jackets? We used to subsidize the life jackets, brand new life jackets, that were qualified pursuant to certification and were safe. Now it's just a dumping ground for old life jackets that do not meet the standards, but it's one of a false safety provision that should not be there. It's just a junkyard. So if you're going to avoid the lifeguards, you better also reconsider those life jackets and the certification issues.
Thank you.
I visited your park many times with my grandchildren. And I think it's well done, the splash pool. I see the amenities that you're improving, both the splash pool and playground are well used. But the disappointing part about this park is the beach. The kids want to come and swim, and the beach is eroded. And the play material is, and so the kids are digging in the dirt, which is, I guess, entertainable to them. Like going to some place that there's a beach that you can swim. To me, it's an effort needs to be made with the drainage of the sidewalks around that drain into the lake and the road. Ditches all the way across the beachway. Need there can be engineered rain weather, some sort of thing. And maybe several, curve, better ways to go to the lake, so that beach can be improved, have deep sand, with deep, and the kids could have an actual beach with going off and living to, it would be a great addition to this park. I wondered, I did hear the comment about lifeguard vests. And there were lifeguards when we were a number of years, and we noticed that there were no lifeguards for. And I've been there when I was kids swimming, with no adult lifeguard paying attention. Adults are always in, I can't see how to see the county doing one through not have lifeguards, so maybe especially on moving from something. When it needs, they're not particular.
I don't anticipate that the lifeguard conversation is over. It's a policy and funding topic that'll occur with our division manager and our department manager and the county manager. This isn't the only site, Frenchman Bar and Vancouver Lake swimming areas as well. So as far as the sand at the beach goes, we touched on it a little bit earlier. I personally am a little bit embarrassed because when we try to fix it, it doesn't last very long. And it really goes to grain size, and you are correct that really the first signs of failure are from runoff from the sidewalk. It's challenging to collect water and then try to release it in a concentrated location because you have this point source energy. And so sheet flowing is sort of the least amount of energy, but it's something that we'll definitely look at when we get into analyzing how to make the beach not only more enjoyable, but easier to maintain. Those two things can go hand in hand. And I'm confident that we'll figure it out, and it'll be when we're done with it, it'll be a better experience.
And unfortunately, again, yes, the tendency DG all become Europe. Because our grants are like no child left behind. And one of the things that Ryan was disappointed that after we stopped auditing for actually searching that the county did not flat. I think maybe it's time to rethink that strategy and for the county to step up and start asking those ones that are available, they should apply for low income areas. And that's number one. Number two, those that talk with the channel. And the other event, there are problems with accessibility. And the ADA do not meet the needs. And as wheelchairs get larger and larger, with more space necessary for them to pass each other on the trailways. Those need to be somehow lightened, whether you go towards away from the beach a little bit, or I don't know what the setback is for the beach area. But it may be much wider in order to have 2 wheelchairs in pass. And I'm gonna have that Klineline. Number 2. And the problem is, again, accessibility, liability, and as I shortly mentioned, that used to be a mining tip. It is bigger. So I observed a couple of paths and one of them it was very difficult to get the person that out because they needed a lot of assistance. So we would make it more customer friendly if you did it much better. That's, but those life jackets, we really need to address that. You either leave them out there as a garbage pile, clean them out and say, hey, bring your own life jacket. Warnings unnecessary to the public. And a very deep hole stuff out of the mind. And then they need to be killed. Thank you.
Five online?
Well, no, 5 minutes. We've already gone over 5.
Oh, we're
If
over
you-
5.
If you want to take a few last questions, and then
Couple more?
you guys will be available around the.
Couple more.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll be here until 8, answering any questions by the board.
Hmm?
Thank you for coming, appreciate it. And